All right, so Tony Hinchcliffe was just on Bill Maher's podcast, and this has to be one of the only times Tony's done a podcast with a comedian that's more arrogant and egotistical than him. So it was interesting. I mean, this podcast, it was kind of like Kill Tony with Tony as the open micer. I mean, Bill was even making fun of Tony's comedy. Right in the beginning, he put Tony on the spot, and he was sarcastically being like, oh no, it's this scary insult comic. Should I be worried? Then he asked Tony to do some crowd work and roast him, and Tony bombed, and then Bill roasted him the rest of the podcast.
A pleasure to meet you.
Oh, the insult comic. I can feel the barbs coming. Should I not sit in the front row?
No, you're safe. You're
if I'm
safe.
in the front row, am I going to get spritzed with the comic barbs? You're not going to ask me where I'm from?
No crowd work on you.
No, come on. Do some crowd work. Ask me where I'm from.
If you want an insult comic, Tony is the best in the world.
His great specialty is roasting.
Right.
He's the best roaster ever.
Where are you from?
New Jersey. Come on. There's a slow pitch down the middle of the plate, bro. New Jersey.
That is a shithole, indeed.
Well, come on. You could do better than the shithole. Isn't that what you're
Maybe I'll
famous?
warm up. I learned that early
Are you
on.
married?
No.
Never been married.
No. Well, I was married for a short period of time.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right.
No, I'm high as shit, but I was married for a couple
I'm high
years.
as shit, and I forgot marriage.
Yeah, where I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, a very, very at the time dangerous.
But the most dangerous neighborhood in America is Appalachia.
Where's that? What do you mean? The city? The place?
It's not a city.
Yeah, like in the mountains. What do you mean?
Jesus, didn't you go to high school?
Yeah.
And Tony said he grew up watching Bill and is a fan, so maybe he's just nervous because he seems scared to offend him or get in an argument with him, and he just let Bill walk all over him. You know, because if you're going to do this podcast, you got to be more aggressive, or else he's just going to dominate the conversation and interrupt constantly and talk down to you, which is what happened here. You know, Tony didn't stand a chance, and he clearly just wanted Bill to like him. But it seemed like Bill just kind of thought he was a goofball, and he kept laughing at him. I mean, at one point, Tony was talking about his Puerto Rico joke controversy, and Bill thought it was the funniest shit ever, because Tony said going into that, he's really hoping to impress Trump. But of course, afterwards, Trump wanted nothing to do with him, even though now that Trump has won, I'm sure he doesn't care as much. But Bill thinks his story's hilarious, and he just had dinner with Trump. So he's like, isn't it crazy you kiss Trump's ass and perform for him for free? And he pretends like he doesn't know you, but I trash him nonstop for like almost a decade, and I get invited to the White House.
A silly performance on the Tom Brady roast or whatever. It was
Right.
also to fucking have the president go, that was cool. Thanks, man. That's awesome. I liked your set. You got the crowd going. Which, by the way, I did. Of course, that room isn't mic'd for
Did
a
he say that all
comedy
that
show.
time?
No, he didn't. I didn't get to talk to him that day.
Somebody said there was a comedian that joked about Puerto Rico or something, and I have no idea who he was. Never saw him, never heard of him, and don't want to hear of him.
You must feel so bad about that. You go and you're for him, and you're working for him, and you like him, and me, nothing but vitriol for 10 years, and I get the invite.
Isn't it wild?
So Kill Tony open micers probably enjoyed this episode because Bill kept roasting Tony and talking down to him, just like Tony does to them. And Tony also just seemed completely out of his element here. Like, usually he's trying to be as offensive as possible, and he doesn't hold back, especially if he's with another comedian and they're going at him. But during this, he was just trying to be as diplomatic as possible, which it did help a little bit. You know, people in the comments are like, wow, Tony's got a lot of patience. But it was kind of disappointing. I mean, it's always great seeing someone roast Bill Maher, and Bill even wanted Tony to, but the whole time it was just Bill making fun of him and calling him out. I mean, there's so many times Tony would say something and Bill would be like, no, you're wrong. And Tony would just laugh or not say anything or just concede right away. So he seems really nervous around Bill, and I don't know if it's because he's intimidated by him or he's starstruck and he wants Bill to like him or he wants Bill on Kill Tony or something, but he did not seem prepared for this. I mean, everybody knows Bill is obnoxious and stuck up and he just wants to listen to himself talk. So this isn't very surprising. You know, this is classic Bill Maher here. Like, you know, he's going to try to talk down to you and constantly interrupt you to talk about himself or Trump, which is really annoying, but you know what you're going to get with him. I mean, this isn't a surprise that he's acting like this. So you kind of have to try to put him in his place a little, like Bill Burr and some other comedians have done. And Tony, he's known for being an insult comic, so Bill was probably expecting to have some banter with him. But Tony didn't roast Bill at all, and he just let him say whatever. I mean, Bill kept trashing Trump supporters like Tony, but Tony would just laugh at it and not really have any response. And at one point, it seemed like Bill was expecting Tony to respond by insulting him back, because obviously that's what Tony's known for, and he would do that to anybody else that says something like this. But when Bill basically calls Trump supporters crazy, he's waiting for Tony to respond, and he thinks he's probably going to insult him, so he's like, "And whatever you're about to say, I am that." He probably thinks he's going to call him a libtard or something. But then Tony's like, "That's why I think you're a centrist." And Bill's all surprised, and he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll take that."
If you take away Cornell University, it's Appalachia. It's like fucking hillbillies. Very rural, very out in the country, very Trump country. I'm not equating the two necessarily. Okay, but like,
Being a Trumper isn't what you're calling a Trumper isn't that crazy. I mean, he did win the popular vote.
that doesn't mean it's not crazy. That does not. Those two things are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's fine. Look, you've been talking to me for what, an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Do I seem like a guy who hates you because you voted?
No, and I'm the same
and
way.
I never will
That's
be.
why I think
Exactly.
you're,
I
believe
am.
it or not,
Whatever
a
you're going to say, I
centrist.
am.
I think you're.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
I am. I'm
And
center
I think
left.
I am too, believe it or not.
I am. Well, I am center left.
And Tony spent a lot of time trying to pander to Bill by talking about how he understands Bill and he got all his political opinions from him. And Tony keeps trying to explain that him, Rogan, and Elon Musk are all centrists, but Bill's not having it, which Tony probably didn't expect because, again, he has no response. And he just keeps repeating himself and calling himself a centrist. Like, for some reason, he does not want Bill to think he's right-wing.
At least from my perception, centrist we are. I've been watching you for my whole life, by the way. My mom always made sure we had HBO, even though I was raised poor. So I kind of get you, and it's crazy that I'm considered a right-winger, or that Rogan is, or that Elon is, and these people.
Anybody, I'm sorry, but anybody who is a Trumper, it's a different mindset.
I'm not kissing your ass. I've been a fan forever. I mean, all my initial politics and everything of anything about politics was through you. It's like we're all pot smoking, pro-choice. If you're gonna call us far right, crazy people, you have to realize we're all formerly registered Democrat voters, and so is Rogan, and so is Elon, and so is Trump. All these people are famously old Democrats.
Okay, but that's not where we are now. They're not Democrats now. And I understand why the Democratic Party gives them the heebie-jeebies. That's different than being all in on Trump, which they are.
Yeah, so Tony's just such a kiss ass. It's hilarious. Like, he wants Bill to like him so much. He's trying to convince him that they have the same political views. But Bill's just like, no, we don't. Don't lump me in with you, Rogan and Elon. So Tony was just trying way too hard to pander to Bill, and it was embarrassing. And it's just like with him and Trump. He wanted Trump to like him so badly. He got carried away with it and ended up blowing it. And now he wants Bill to like him, and he's just embarrassing himself again. Like, also, he tried to explain to Bill how the 2020 election might have been rigged. And Bill looks at him like he's crazy, and he's like, "Are you serious?" And of course, Tony starts to backpedal, and he's like, "Well, I'm not saying I believe that." So he's really cautious when he's talking about this stuff with Bill. Like, also, Bill asks him if he believes in Pizzagate, and Tony's like, "No, that's a really fringe theory." But I feel like he's only saying this because he doesn't want Bill to think he's crazy. Around Bill, he seems to tone everything down a lot, and he just wants Bill to like him.
Because they don't accept election results. Nothing is more important to me than that. You have to accept election results. That's the basis of everything.
Right.
And they're not there.
Yeah. You have no thoughts about the fact that perhaps because, it was a lockdown and everything that, extra reviewers, like from both sides could be in the voting areas and stuff,
You're still saying the 2020 election was not fair? Because even his own security team said it was fair.
I get it.
A lot of Republicans have. I mean,
Right.
that's a dead horse that you got to stop beating.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I think that, but there were a lot of votes that didn't vote this year, and those votes were for the left.
Well, he lost. He ran 3 times. He lost 1 and won 2. That's pretty good. They're going to compare this to like Hillary ran a file ring out of a pizza parlor. Now, Tony, you don't really believe Hillary did run a... Okay, good. Because a lot of Trumpers do. See, this is why people have
Again,
some reason to be suspicious.
That's the farthest extreme of the
It's not
of the Trump side of things.
Really, what percentage of people who voted for Donald Trump, or in the, let's put it this way, what percentage of people in the administration? You don't think people like Pete Hegseth and Linda McMahon and I don't know, some of these people, Pam Bondi, you don't think they believe in things like that?
Yeah, so I guess that's what a podcast with two of the most insufferable comedians is like. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you think was more annoying. And if you want to hear about the time Shane Gillis realized Tony's ego was completely out of control and how he keeps roasting Tony whenever he goes on Kill Tony, or if you want to hear about when Mark Zuckerberg tried to suck up to Joe Rogan and his audience and failed miserably and embarrassed himself, those videos plus probably 130 other exclusive ones are over on Patreon. So if you like the channel, if you're a fan of the content and want extra content, make sure you check it out. It's definitely worth it. I'll put a link in the description.